There we go. Now y'all got to click those buttons. Sorry about that. Um, so what I want to share with you is that I have a PowerPoint to this. I can't stand doing Zooms with a PowerPoint shared because I can't see you guys, and I know you're all going to make faces at me. So everything that's on the PowerPoint, I'm going to say, and I'm going to add life to it. I emailed out the PowerPoint if you were already registered. So you can follow along. You can look at it later. You could print it and run and grab it and take notes on it. Just know that rather than share it, I'm just going to kind of talk about what's on it, so that way we can have more interaction. And I want to challenge you guys. Like, if you've got a question, go over to the chat, or I'm gonna stop a couple times and ask if there's any questions. Please speak up. Like, my goal here is that I don't just like speak for an hour straight. I want y'all to get value out of the day, and that happens more when we interact. So that's what we got, and we're gonna start. And so we're gonna go over one strategy at a time, okay? And the first strategy to doubling your business in 2026 is to truly know your outcome. And I know that that might sound like overly simple and rudimentary, so like hang with me for a second. Um, think about how many times you, or maybe your friend, right? Think about how many times you or your friend have set a goal that was like completely arbitrary, right? Like it didn't actually mean anything to you. You said it because it sounded good. Like you said, I want to make 200,000 next year because you saw somebody else do it and you thought that was great, right? So when I say know your outcome, there's a few things that go with that. The first thing that's super important is that you actually know whether you want to call it your purpose or your big why, but you know your purpose or your big why. I know that's one of those things that so many of us struggle with, and it can feel elusive. And I mean, I can think of times as an agent where somebody said that to me in a class or a coaching experience, and I almost just was like, ugh, like I got so sick of hearing about it because I didn't feel like I had clarity on mine, so it became this annoying thing. But what I can tell you is that when you actually have clarity on your why and kind of what you're doing and all of that, the goals happen. And so all I can tell you is that you're going to want to have some clarity there. And the big why, the whole purpose thing, it doesn't really need to be the mystery that we allow it to be sometime. And so I will tell you right now, there's what I find to be a fairly easy formula to figure out your big why. So if that's something that you struggle with, if it's something that you feel like you're not overly clear on right now, there's a really easy formula, and I'll say it a couple of times so you guys can write it down and maybe come back to it later. It's also in the PowerPoint if you have that. And it's basically come up with what you're most passionate about. And I would say you'd want to come up with maybe like three of those things. Okay. So, what are three things that you're wildly passionate about? And I want to be super clear. It doesn't need to have anything to do with real estate because your big why, it's going to tie into your goals in real estate, but it doesn't need to be anything real estate related. Okay. So, what are two things, three things, four things? What are some things that I am wildly, wildly passionate about? Think about you're at somebody's house for dinner and you get onto this topic and you get going so much that you look up and all of a sudden it's like 2 in the morning and you're like, well, where did the time go? Think about those type of things. And then you'd want to come up with a short list in the same manner of what are the things you most love doing. Like, don't put the sad constrictions of, oh well, when I have time or if I had the money. Like, what do you love to do? What are the activities that you like? If money were not an object and you had all the time in the world, how would you spend that time passionately, right? And you come up with a list of those things. And this is where overthinkers have trouble. And I am a constantly recovering overthinker. So if you're an overthinker, I feel you, I am you, I understand. But you kind of just got to look at those five, six, seven things, whatever your list comes to, and let it speak to you and tie it together in a way that, okay, so this is my passion. So, I could give you an example for me, and I figured it took me a long time to figure this out, by the way. But but my purpose, my why is truly, truly to help people see that they can do it all and have it all. And it doesn't have to be that you have to choose, and that you can enjoy the ride while getting there. Like that's my passion. That's my why. That's what drives me. That's how I make my decisions. I'll tell you guys, some of you have already like heard my spiel. You've been like in a team meeting or something. So, I will give like the super, super quick version of this, but I I am somebody who's very, very like my whole life doesn't make sense on paper. I'm not super educated and I don't come from any type of money and I live a really abundant life. And I only live it because I've put myself in the environment that's allowed it. And and I have 4 jobs. So like do that math, right? I should be working 1,000 hours a week. And I don't. I don't work more than 40 hours a week. I think it's crazy. And no offense if you're working more than 40 hours a week, because I did it for a really long time. So I say that so that you know that it doesn't have to be that way. And the whole reason I'm saying all this is that that why, that clarity on who I desire to be and how I desire to show up for people, it allows me to say no to the things that would cause me to be working 120 hours a week. So when you have clarity on that why, like, are any of you, you can raise your real hand or your digital hand, like, how many of you guys find yourself sometimes in people pleasing mode? Cool. Yeah, I think it comes with getting your real estate license, right? Like it's one of those things where we kind of we fall into this trap and it's a beautiful thing, right? That's the other trick. Like how lovely that you want to make people happy. And you're not like a taco or an ice cream cone. You can't make everybody happy. You can't please everybody. But what you can do is you can take care of yourself and you can take care of your loved ones and you can prioritize. And when you have clarity on that why, friends, it changes everything. And if you kind of go back to that formula and if you're like, I still don't know what it is, you know what? If your answer is not super clear, take whatever answer you have, start marching in a direction. And I think what you'll find is that you give yourself a month or two of focus on a purpose or a why. And by a month or two in, you will notice a significant difference in the way that you're showing up in your business and in your personal goals, or you won't. If you don't notice the difference, you got to go back to the drawing board. If you do, keep marching down that path. So that's number one with knowing your outcome. You got to have clarity on your why. Now, here's another one. You know, we are about at that time where really we should start planning for 2026. And I know it sounds crazy because it just started 10 minutes ago, but like we're in September and we're in a 90-day cycle business at the very least. And so we got to start planning for next year. And before you come up with some random dollar amount or I'm going to sell 100 houses or whatever it is without giving it any thought, I want you to look at business planning differently. And I want you to figure out what you want out of 2026. No one, literally nobody cares how many houses you sold except for maybe you. And even that, it's not real care. It's just because we're competitive. Nobody really cares how much money you make. We are doing these things so that we can have a beautiful life, so that we can buy this and take this trip and fund this education, whatever it is, right? So what I always tell people to do is you have to have a destination for every dollar. Okay, that's kind of my little alliteration that I use is having a destination for every dollar. Because whatever the mind can't actually conceive, it can't actually achieve. So when you decide that you want to make $200,000 and you've never made more than $75,000, it's not that the jump is too big. It's that you don't know what to do with $200,000. You don't know what you do with it. You think you do because you're like, ooh, more sounds great. But what are you spending it on? You know, I will tell you guys, I'm in a bold right now in Sarasota, Florida, and I had this. We were speaking kind of about business planning and goals and all that fun stuff. And I asked for a couple people to shout out like, what is your goal for next year if you've already thought about it financially? You know, and I got the 200,000, 300,000, the lovely round numbers. And then I had somebody stand up and she was like, $312,461. And I was like, that's somebody who's going to hit the goal. Because what you just told me is that you know exactly where every dollar is going. You calculated taxes, you calculated however much the new car is going to cost, and the down payment on the investment, and how much that trip to Hawaii is going to cost. And so, having a destination for every dollar and actually understanding where the money is going to go will allow you to go hit the goal. Because what I have found after over 19 years, and I've hit a lot of goals and I've missed a lot of goals, is that arbitrary goals, like the pretty cute ones that don't have any meaning behind them, they're very rarely achieved. While when you have a specific goal that has some meaning attached to it, especially if it ties into that big why and that purpose, there is no how that will stop you. Like you will achieve the goal. And then the last thing here with this first strategy of knowing your outcome, you get, like I'm not going to say you have to, you get to focus daily on these things. Like, and I don't care how you do it. If you want to have like a super cute vision board, I think that's great. If you want a bullet pointed list, I'm not here to tell you how to do this, but those goals should be in front of you every day because this group of people, we're all the crazy ones that chose to get into a business where we wake up unemployed every day. And the crazy thing around that is that there's no one to stop us from getting into our way. You want to lay in bed and watch TV all day? Congratulations, you're a realtor. You can do that. And your broker won't fire you, and your team leader won't fire you. And any clients you have wouldn't know, so they won't fire you. Or you can get up and you can do the work. And when you have goals that mean something to you and they're sitting in front of you constantly, they're on the bathroom mirror, they're at your workstation. What I can tell you right now is you will get your butt up and you will get to work. And it's a beautiful, beautiful thing. So that is strategy number one, simply to know your outcome and know it well and have purpose behind it. Now, the second strategy, that is to identify your one thing. Now, this one is kind of simple because for everybody on here who is an agent, for everybody on here who is a team leader, who is maybe the rainmaker for a team, it doesn't really change the answer. Your one thing in business specifically is lead generation. And I know you'd all love it to be something else. I get it. I'd love for it to be something else. Hi, I'm a MAPS coach, Bold coach, and I'm here to admit to you that I wish it wasn't lead generation. I don't want to make all those calls and send all those texts and create all these emails. It's gross. And at the end of the day, we got it pretty sweet. Think about the other fields that have the capability of making the money that we have the capability of making. Because if you've never really looked up and paid attention, the people at the top of this industry are making many, many millions of dollars a year from selling houses. Like our opportunity is actually ridiculous. And I like to joke that if you had to dumb down real estate to like caveman terms, it would be talk to people, get big checks. Talk to people, get big checks. So identifying your one thing is easy because it's lead generation. And I am not a proponent of telling you that that's something you should be doing 7 days a week because I don't think any of us are built to work 7 days a week. I don't think you don't got to do it. And yet, 5 days a week, we have to develop a mindset where we have convinced ourselves that nothing is more important than the lead generation. Not that flyer that needs to get done, not that short appraisal that's going to be just as short in 3 hours when we're done with our lead generation, right? Like none of it's actually more important. We have to have that mantra. And, lead generation, it's such a vague thing. There's so many different ways that you can connect with people, which is all lead generation is. And you don't have to love all of the different ways that there are to lead generate. However, if you'd like to be successful at any level in this industry, you can't hate them all. Like you have to find one or two or three things that you're willing to do daily, 5 days a week, consistently, and you literally can write a blank check. However much you want your income to be, it's no big deal. And while I think that everybody probably needs about three lead gen levers, I think you get to have full autonomy over two of them. One of them has to be your database, your sphere, whatever you want to call it. It has to be. And if you're sitting there and it currently isn't, I'm telling you right now, you got to flip your mind around on that. There is no better business than people that already know you, like you, trust you. It's the best thing in the world. You don't have to fight, and it'll allow you the energy to have the two other levers that might be a little bit more difficult. So you've got to have something involved with your sphere. Outside of that, who cares? One thing that I love about the new version of Bold that came out last year is that we've got 12 different lead generation playbooks that are all like super random and outside the box. Like there's so many different ways. Like you could actually have fun lead generating. And I know that sounds ridiculous, but you can have fun lead generating. And once you've identified, of course, we know that one thing is lead generation. Once you've identified how you're going to do it, you have to leverage everything else out that you possibly can. I know there's going to be times where you're going to do things that don't make you money. I really do understand that. And yet, I don't know about you. I find that, you guys already kind of agreed that many of you are people pleasers. So I'm going to take a wild guess that a lot of you fall into the other real estate licensing requirement where we think that we're the only people that can do it right. Anybody like that here? Yeah, I'm seeing the faces. Some of you are like, that's funny. Some of you are like, don't call me out. Um, so here's the deal. I fought leverage for a really long time. I will I will never forget when I finally gave in. God bless coaches, especially whoever, if you have like whoever your first coach is, we're so mean to our coaches. Or at least I was. And I was like, lady, could you please shut up about leverage? Like, I'm not interested. And what she finally convinced me was that at the time, I was single, living alone, and I had two dogs and little guys, right? And if you've ever had a little dog, you know they can't make it all day. They got to go out, or else you come home to not fun things. And I was going home, coming back to the office because I don't work well from home. A lot of us have told us we do, most of us don't. And so I would go home every day, and I'm losing an hour of my day. And she convinced me to hire a dog walker. Now I felt like the biggest, like, I mean, who am I to hire a dog walker? That is some bougie Beverly Hills ridiculousness. And the beautiful things that came from getting an hour of my day back and not having to interrupt myself and maybe being able to eat lunch every once in a while, like it changed everything. And it really opened my eyes to the fact that so many things that don't really make us money and don't bring us joy can be leveraged out. We can do it in our business world and we can do it in our personal world. So if you're looking to double your business and do something big, it's going to take doing things differently. And you can't do all the things and double your business at the same time. You're going to have to let go of some of the things, right? Um, I believe that there are really only a few things that make you money in real estate. Lead generation is obviously one of them. Lead follow up is one of them. And of course, those lines are kind of blurred, right? Because they're kind of the same thing. Going on appointments, but of course, we don't have that unless we lead generate and lead follow up. Negotiating contracts, same deal. If we don't do the other three, we don't get that. And then the only other thing that truly makes us money is practice and role play. You think about it, right? We're in this field where you don't even have to have a degree. And this little license allows us to make the same amount of money as professional athletes and doctors and lawyers and actors and musicians. And all of those people practice their craft at such a high level, and we tend not to. And it's really kind of funny, right? Like we should be taking the time. That is a money making activity. But anything other than that, friends, it honestly should not be done by you, at least not on a regular basis. We should be leveraging those things out. Before I move to strategy number three, I'm curious if there's any questions so far. I am a fast mover, fast talker, and I know that about myself. So are there any questions I can answer, or do you want me to keep trucking along? Going once, twice, three times? All right. If there is a question, like I said, go to the chat and I'll come to you. No big deal. Um, Strategy number three to double your business in 2026. Okay. Get into massive action, massive action. And friends, again, that does not mean that you got to work 22 hours a day. I'm not saying that, but it's get into massive action. Think about what your life and your business would look like if you built a pipeline that was so big that it was actually impossible for you to fail. Because here's what I know most real estate agents do because I did it for a long time. Okay. And I coach bold and I have 1,000 agents coming through my roster every year, right? We are so focused on the next deal because the smell of that next paycheck is so intoxicating, right? And heaven forbid if it's been a little while. So, like, now we're worried about how we're going to pay them bills, right? So, we look for that next deal so hard that we're like mining and sifting for gold and we're throwing gold out because we're talking to this person over here who's like, yeah, 6 months from now, I think I'm ready. And you're like, I don't need that. I need now. And you're throwing them away. We have to stop doing that. If we're to build a huge business, the type that could double upon itself in a year's time, then we have to look at it like a business. And I'm going to take a wild guess that if you're here listening right now, your goal is probably not to retire in the next 6 months. Maybe in a few years, maybe 10 years. I don't know. I don't think any of you are like, hey, I'm done in the next few months because why would you be learning anything new? So we have to remember that that lead that's 3 months out, that's 6 months out, that's a year out, that's 2 years out, whatever, they're all valuable. And we get to start playing like Monopoly in real life. We get to, okay, oh, cool. Okay, so June. All right, now I got one for June already. Now I got to keep going, right? When we look at our business that way, rather than like next, 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 and nothing else counts, It really will help get you off the real estate roller coaster. And I find that saying real estate roller coaster is one of those things that I never have to define. You all know exactly what it is. It's that feeling of everything is great and everything is great and money's coming in and oh my God, what happened? I'm out. There's nothing left. There's nothing coming. What am I supposed to do? And now we're starting all over again. We have to look at it like building a super strong pipeline. And then once we have a great pipeline as we're developing it, we get to communicate with it more than you have ever possibly dreamt of. Like more. Like we have this misinformed idea that we might bother people by over communication. And I get it. It's a natural thing to think. But how many times a day do you get correspondence from Amazon? And yet you still log in and you still swipe that card and you still keep giving them money. And there's so many other companies. That's just one of the more universal ones. Like think of some of these companies that are contacting you daily, some of them. And you're not annoyed, you're a loyal customer. So think about it. This is where like follow up and lead generation really do get blurry, right? Because lead generation by definition is connecting with new people and bringing them into your net, and then lead follow up is everything after that. You got to do both every day, and they kind of just end up in the same pot, right? Especially if you're going to run a sphere based business. And yet, think about it this way: like you're not going to over communicate. So how often are people hearing from you directly? If you can't say 4 times or more a year, you've got some work to do. No judgment. It's okay. But if they're not hearing from you directly, whether that's a phone call or a text, that part doesn't really matter. Social media message, I don't care. But if it's not 4 times a year, you got some work to do, and that's okay. Um, how often are they seeing your face? Like how often are you having events so that you can get face to face with people? I believe anybody that matters in your database, they should be getting at least 4 invites from you a year to events. The introverts too, they're not going to come and it doesn't matter. You're still going through the motions and still making them feel special. Like I can't be the only one on here who absolutely wants to be invited to the party and is probably never going to show up because really I'm an introvert and I want to stay home. But if you stop inviting me, then that's kind of like, oh, I don't like that. So how often are they seeing your face or at least getting the opportunity to see your face? How often are they receiving email from you? I find email is super underutilized, especially by agents that are doing the hard work of having those one-on-one connections, right? We we think that our cousin hired the other agent because they just don't support us. We think that that neighbor listed with somebody else because they just don't support us. What really happened is just like us, their brain is moving in 30 different directions at any given moment, and they meant it when they said they'd work with you, and they meant it when they said they'd refer to you, but they forgot that they said it 10 minutes later. And the reason that we want to be emailing these people at least every 2 weeks, and I think you could absolutely do more than that, even though I know it sounds dramatic, is that they continue to see your name, even if they never open the email. Now, we'd like them to open it, but even if they never open it, they can continue to see your name so that they don't forget to call you when it's time and they don't forget to refer you to their people. So, how often are they getting emails from you? It has to be every 2 weeks. It probably should be more than that. If you did a survey of all of Gary's top 200 agents, I would guarantee you that the average emails is way more than two a week. Some of them are getting probably more than one a week. So again, don't think you're over communicating. If anything, most of us are under communicating because most of us listening right now are probably not in Gary's top 200. So that's something to keep in mind. How often are they finding you in their mailbox? I know it's 2025 and yet mail has not gone away yet. And when you go to your mailbox, however often you check it, what do you get? You get junk and you get bills. And neither one of which are things that we enjoy. So what if we flip the script on that? What if we put ourselves in their mailbox maybe 4 times a year, maybe more if we wanted to, and gave them something of value, of entertainment, something to make them chuckle, something to make them smile, something to teach them something about taking care of their home, so that the whole idea here is that everybody communicates in different ways. Everybody learns in different ways. And if all we're ever doing is emailing, then we're missing the people that prefer text and or mail. If all we're ever doing is mailing, we're missing the people that love one-on-one connection. The idea here is that we're hitting people from every different direction so they can never forget us. And then the only other thing that you want to think about is how connected are you to your sphere and your clients and your past clients on social media? If I say social media and one of your first thoughts is like an internal eye roll, I get it. And it's 2025 and social media is not leaving. And the beauty of social media is that within our business, within our sphere and our database, like it is the freest possible way to take mind share. And so, how often are they seeing us on social media? And are they seeing us? Are they seeing real estate robot or are they getting the personal side as well? Are they getting the human side of real estate? And then, yeah, sometimes they're getting just straight up informational stuff, right? What you have to understand is that in life, there is a decision continuum. Now, in the slide deck, there's an image for this, so you can go check it later because I've sent it to you guys. But the decision continuum, the whole idea is, people tell us no, or they tell us they're not ready, or they tell us they are ready. But there's really kind of a moving scale there, right? You have everything from an absolute no to maybe a firm no to maybe it's just a maybe no. Maybe they're on the fence. Maybe it might be a yes. It's almost a yes. It's an absolute yes. And when you think of your leads and your friends and your family members and all these people, what you have to understand is that we can't ever take the first no, and we can't ever assume that the first yes is a firm one. And in order to get to the right yeses and the right nos, we have an opportunity to keep in front of people at a super, super high level. And I look at it this way. This has kind of always been my mantra in business. When I have to ask myself, do I keep following up? Do I add one more email? Do I make one more call? I know that I don't think any of us can ever say that we've gotten every deal from every lead we've ever picked up. Just doesn't work that way. And I'm competitive and I'm production minded and I want to win as often as possible. I like sleep. I don't know if any of you do. And I find that I can sleep better when I know that I lost a deal or lost a connection because I did too much as opposed to not enough. Because, like, how does somebody feel when you didn't do enough? They feel that you didn't care. And I don't think anybody would be on this Zoom right now if you didn't actually care about people. Like, you wouldn't be in this business if you didn't care about people. There are other ways to go make money. And so we have the opportunity to decide when we lose, how we want to do it. And if I'm going to lose, it's going to be because I did too much. And if somebody gets pissy with me and says, why are you sending me all these emails? I'm going to look them right in the face or meet them right where they are on that text or that phone call and say, because I care. Because there's so many other agents out there that don't know what they're doing and or don't care about the clients that they have. And I do know what I'm doing. Not perfect. I know what I'm doing though. And I genuinely care about my clients. So Susie person, like I can't sleep well if I know that you're at the risk of hiring some crappy agent that doesn't care about you. So I'm so sorry the emails are annoying. I'll shut them down if you'd like. But I want to make sure that I take care of people I care about. All right. So that's strategy number 3. Strategy number 4, this one realtors are not good at. So pay attention because we got to work on this one. Okay. That is know where you are at all times. Here's what we do. I know you've never done this. I know it's your friends, but here's what we do. We set the goal. We're so good, like in September, October, November, right? We're so good. We set goals. They mean something. We love them. We put it on paper. We're so great. And we don't look at them again until we go to do it next year. And then we're like, crap, why am I so far off? Because we didn't keep any relationship with the goal. We didn't measure anything. So we set ourselves up for failure. If you think about it, if you look at the first time that we flew to the moon, what if you actually look at the data, the shuttle was off course 97% of the time. 97% of the time. But the reason that they still got to their desired destination was because they watched it so closely that every time they were off by anything, it was a correction. Oh, I'm off a little bit here. It was a correction. So we have to do the same thing with our business. One of the bold truths that we teach directly from Gary Keller is the path is in the math. And I know the minute I say math to real estate agents, if I'm not talking about 3%, nobody wants to hear it. And I get it. But the real short version of understanding the path is in the math is that you can say you're not a numbers person all you want, but yes, you are, because everything in your life is centered around numbers. Without numbers, there is no time. Without numbers and math, there's no way to know if you hit a goal or not. There's no way to set a goal because how could you possibly measure it? Like everything you do, your age is numbers. The day you were born, the day you got married, like it's all numbers. And so if we know where we are at all time, like, because here's what maybe some of you are better than your friends, right? You set the goal in October. You looked at it again in June. You're halfway through the year. You're like, let me see where I'm at. You're like, oh my God, I'm so far off. Well, now, even though you have 6 months of the year left, the goal feels insurmountable because you're so far off. But if you would have looked at that in January, the furthest off you could have been, you still could have fixed it. And so the idea is that we take the time to do the unsexy work, which is tracking what we're doing, tracking where we're winning, tracking where we're losing, tracking where we're supposed to be on our goals. And so knowing where you are at all times is one of the biggest ways that you can or cannot double your business because doubling is a big deal. And if you're not watching it closely, one bad week could throw you off. Okay. And you have to adjust every time. Now, there's a few things that you can do to really maximize the benefit of this. The first thing is really understanding and utilizing the power of goal setting to the now. Now, we talk about goal setting to the now in bold. It's also in the One Thing book. So if you've ever read it, you've probably heard about it. If you forgot it, go crack the thing open again. If you've never read it, in fact, you could go to the One Thing's website and even skip the whole book and you could search for goal setting to the now and it would give you the gist of it. And yet, here's the real quick version. The idea is that we all have one big goal we're working towards. Some of us might have never said it out loud, but there's that one thing that you know you want to do with your life. That if that thing happened while you were still on earth, you would really feel like you lived for something, right? And that could be years away, it could be decades away. Like sometimes it's going to be really far out there, which is why so many people never hit the someday goal. The idea of goal setting to the now is that you take that someday goal and then you like measure it out. So like where do I need to be in 5 years so that I'm on track to hit that someday goal that most people only ever get to dream of? And then if I'm going to hit that 5 year goal, well, where do I need to be in a year to make sure that I'm on track for the 5 years so I can get that someday goal done? And then, okay, so I probably got to measure myself monthly. So what do I need to do this month so that I know I'm on track for my yearly goal so that I hit the 5 year and I get to the someday? And if I'm going to hit this month, what do I need to get done this week? What's really important? Like, let's get the noise out. What do I got to do this week to make sure that I hit my monthly goal, to make sure that I hit my yearly goal, to make sure I get the 5 year, to make sure I get to the someday? And if I'm going to get the week right, the days fly by, don't they? So, what do I need to do today in order to hit my weekly goal and then my monthly, then my yearly, then my 5 year so I can get to my someday goal like most people never get to do. And then if I'm going to win the day, I mean, I don't know about you guys, like I do feel like most humans have some sort of weird squirrel DNA inside of them. I think most of us, especially in the real estate industry, like we lack the ability to focus. Actually, I don't believe we lack the ability. We lack the discipline of focus. And so, our days can get away from us real quick. I know most of us do wake up with the intention of winning, and most of us don't win. And so the challenge is, what do I need to do right now? In fact, one of the most powerful questions you can ask yourself at any given time throughout your day is, what would I need to do right now that would cause me to hit my daily goal so that I could then hit my weekly goal and then my monthly goal and then my yearly and my 5 year and my someday? That's like a really quick explanation of what goal setting to the now is. It's at any given moment where we have that fork in the road of what we could be doing right now, we ask ourselves, what do I need to do right now to make sure I win today? And then everything from there will kind of take care of itself. So that's one thing. Another great tool that some of you may have heard of before, and some of you might have not, is the idea of the 15th protocol. And the idea of the 15th protocol is that in the middle of every month, hence the 15, we look up, we look at where we're at for the month, we look at what that monthly goal was. And if we're on track, we keep going. If we're off, we change direction. right? So if you need to be at, let's take an easy metric. Let's say you've got to have 4 appointments a month in order to hit your goal. You look up and it's the 15th, you're at 0 appointments. Okay. We can either freak out, we can give up, or we can do something that makes sense. And what I would say would make sense is that if at the 15th you're at 0 appointments, if you normally lead generate an hour or two a day, buckle up, Buttercup, because you're going to lead generate 4, 5, 6 hours a day for a week or so. Do whatever it takes to make sure that you set 4 appointments so that you can hit your monthly goal so that you don't have to get off track on that bigger goal that you're working towards. That's the idea of 15th protocol, that if we're not where we need to be midway through the month, we start erasing stuff that doesn't really matter and we do what it takes to get to the goal. And then the last thing that I'll say that is a huge tool and has really changed everything for me is the idea of having weekly planning time. Now, I shared with you, like, I'm a big believer in a 40-hour work week. I choose not to work nights and weekends unless there's something super extreme that comes up. And I view the weekly planning as not like work, it's like life work. And so I do this on Sunday. I find it's easiest because Sundays tend to be not the craziest day. And I think it's easier to plan when your stress level is a little bit low. And all I do is I look every Sunday at the week ahead and I look at what I've got coming up and to see if there's any adjustments that I need to make in order to make sure that the right things happen. For me, my family comes first. So if I have some sort of sporting event I need to go to or a parent teacher thing, I'm not skipping that. But if it conflicts with something in my business, I'm going to make sure I move that thing and it still happens, right? It's stuff like that. I got to go to the doctor. Okay, I'm going to move this here, right? And then I look at where I'm at in relation to my goals. Am I on track or am I not on track? And if I'm not on track, I'm going to make some adjustments that week to get myself there. And it goes right back to the original space shuttle that went to the moon and that analogy I gave you. If we looked at where we were every week, it would never be impossible to get on track, get back on track. It would be easy, in fact. It would be small changes. When we hold ourselves out and only check it once a year, well, that's when things get uncontrollable. So that's strategy number four. I'm gonna go into strategy number five, and then we're gonna take some questions and get y'all moving here. So strategy number five, in order to double your income in 2026, is to become obsessed. Obsessed, like capital letters, lunatic obsessed with your goals. And I know that might sound weird, but think about it. Think about how often we obsess over worthless things. And whether that worthless thing is something negative, which like it's just never great to focus on negativity at the obsession level, or whether it's a fun obsession, but it's like not doing anything for you. Maybe you have that one game you play on your phone that you play way too often. Like, congrats on being obsessed with something. I don't think it's creating the life that you desire, right? So if we can obsess over worthless things, if we know that we naturally have that in us to become obsessed with something, what if we changed it up? And what if we used obsession to actually create magic in our lives? So here's some best practices around goals and kind of like literally getting obsessed with them, right? And before I even share that, I like being vulnerable with people. Like, I've done a lot of awesome things in my life, and I live a beautiful life, and I have fallen on my face plenty of times. So I'm not perfect. I became way better at spending money than I was at earning money when I got into real estate. And so I have found myself in a very long, not at this point, by the way, but for a long time, I had a big struggle with debt. And it got to a point where I had a MAPS coach that like sniffed it out of me because I hit it really well. Like I would, I don't know if you've ever been around like the millionaire that's really not a millionaire. They make like $30,000 a year, but man, they could flash it well. Like I was really good at hiding it. And she sniffed it out, and we had a really powerful, impactful conversation. And I shared the truth with her. And and the only reason I was able to get out of debt and become financially literate and kind of change my wealth story was because she had me get obsessed with it, like obsessed with it. I looked at it every day. I calculated things every week. Every decision I made was different because it lived rent free up there. So obsession, while I think it has a negative connotation, it can really be a good thing and it can change your lives. Okay. So best practices around goals, they have to be specific and they have to be measurable, making them easy to track and making it very clear whether you have achieved them or not. Because here's what we do all the time. All of us do it, even myself, if I'm not paying attention. Well, I want to make more money next year. Okay, well, here's a quarter. Congratulations, you hit your goal. Like, there's nothing to it. I want to sell more houses. Okay, well, what does that mean? I want to be healthier. Okay, skip one donut and you're healthier. Like, we have to make things more specific. It's really hard to achieve a goal if you can't measure the goal. So you want to get as specific as possible. I love when people share goals with me because it allows me an opportunity to poke holes in it, right? And I don't do it for sport. I do it because I know how many years I went specifically missing goals, and it was because I was not getting specific enough with them. The next thing is they got to mean something to you. Like if it doesn't make your heart move, your body's not moving. So it has to be your goals should give you a little bit of like the goosebumps, the shiver down the spine that you should have some really big ones. And not so big that they're literally impossible. Like if you've never sold a home before and you decide you'd like to make $10 million in your first year of real estate, I feel like maybe you've set yourself up for success. But if you also say I've never sold a home before, so you know what? If I sold one home this year, that would be good. I don't think that's that big, right? Your goals have to mean something to you, which is the same reason earlier I talked about not having arbitrary goals. Stop thinking in cute round numbers and come up with exactly what you desire your life to look like and what that would take to get there. Mentioned this earlier as well, and yet it bears repeating. The goal should be in front of you all the time. I am naturally like, I'm the most optimistic pessimist you'll ever meet. Like I'm the first person to say, "Oh, affirmations are stupid," until somebody explained to me that that was an affirmation and we speak in them all the time, and maybe we should speak in them differently. Um, Vision boards. I used to think they were so dumb until the first year that I was on ALC. So I was like, okay, fine, I'll make a vision board and play the game, right? And then I put it up at home because I'm like, well, I spent the time to make it. And I'll never forget, I didn't even really track it that well. And yet at the end of the year, as I was ready to take it off my wall, I started checking. I was like, holy crap, like I did these things. So whatever your vision is, it doesn't really matter how. Like all of us respond differently to things, and yet keeping those goals in front of you at all times is a game changer. You want to get obsessed with something, you can't lose focus of it, right? Here's one where I think a lot of us struggle, excuse me. Your friends and your family members should know about your goals. You should shout them from the rooftop, and because it allows for accountability and it allows for support. What most of us do instead is we don't tell anybody our goals because just in case we don't hit them, right? Like we don't want to feel bad. We don't want to disappoint anybody. But the opposite is true. You putting it out there and adding that pressure of other people knowing will cause you to do the work on the days that you don't want to do it. And I find that we're really good at mislabeling pressure as stress. Stress sucks. And I believe that for the most part, stress is a choice. I won't go down that rabbit hole. Happy to debate it later. Um, Pressure is a gift, though. Pressure, in fact, is your friend. Pressure is what makes great things, right? It shows us who we are. And then the next thing, the last thing really I'll say is that, and this is a tough one too, especially if you are a logical type thinker, you have to think of your goals as they are already done. Like you have to speak about them as if they are done, as if they exist. You can't do it if you don't believe it's true. And so you have to speak to yourself in a way that for most of us is contradictory to how we do. Because most of us, through programming, through the world beating us up, whatever it is, we speak to ourselves really grossly. Like most of us, if we spoke to our biggest enemy the way that we speak to ourselves, we'd feel bad about it. So we have to flip that around. And we have to talk about these goals as things that are happening and have happened. And we have to speak about them without any hesitation in our voice, because that sends a very clear message to our brains, which is, like I'm not a scientist. It's just the mushy computer that lives between your ears, right? And the beautiful thing about our brains is that our brains don't know the difference between truth and lie. So if you tell your brain that you can do XYZ, if you tell your brain that you deserve to have XYZ, what your brain will do is go out and figure out how to make that happen. If you tell the world, hey, I'm going to sell 100 houses next year, and then you tell your brain, I mean, I don't really think I can do it. I probably can't sell more than 20. Congratulations on selling 20 houses. And it won't be because of a lack of ability. It's simply going to be because we made the choice to speak to ourselves in a manner that doesn't serve. So here's how I want to end this, and then I want to take questions, right? That what do we do from here? Okay. We need to take massive action. And again, that doesn't need to be doubling the hours that you work. It's about getting intentful with how you work, right? Massive action paired with clarity of the purpose of your big why. That is a formula that will always equal crushing your goals. Big action, clear why, you're hitting your goals. And your performance is the only way to win. The market's irrelevant. Your experience level, your education, all of it is irrelevant. Your performance is the way that you'll win. We are in and moving more into a skills-based, performance-based market. And I want you to think of this, and it's in the PowerPoint. You may want to write this down because it's really simple. Performance equals potential minus interference. Performance equals potential minus interference. And here's the fun truth. Potential is unlimited. Interference must be limited. And it's up to us to put the blinders on and lock the things out that don't belong in our world. And the next best step for you that you might want to work on today is to identify what you actually need to get off of your plate and or out of your way that would allow you to tap into that unlimited potential. Most of us spend far too much of our time doing things that literally bring us no value and don't need to be done, but we get to wear the badge of busy at the end of the day, so it feels good. But what feels better is getting that junk off your plate so that you can actually go live a life that you probably dreamt of when you took the real estate exam, right? And there's a bold law in the new version of Onward Bold, right? Which is do less better. And I think if you as a real estate agent could go out today and master that idea, you would take off like a rocket. Most of us are doing too many things with very little impact and very little skill. Whereas what we really need to do is have like three things we are like drop dead amazing at within our business. Those are the people that take off like a rocket. The people who are actually willing to quiet out the noise and just be great at a few things. So what questions can I answer, or what ahas or action items do you have? I'd love to hear from you. And then I want to share a little bit about the bold that's coming up and share some information. And I'm going to get you out of here on time. So who's got a question or an aha or something they want to go take action on?
Listen, I have a question.
Yes, go
So,
for it.
strategy two, you talked about your opinion about emails being underutilized.
Yeah.
What in the Keller Williams world, what are you hearing as kind of like the non-negotiables of emails that agents should be taking advantage of that are at their fingertips? And for those that are taking bold with you, what can they plug in now with emails that can give them a head start or a good advantage entering in bold with you?
What a great question. Okay, so non-negotiable email is I believe that everyone in your database that you have an address for, and if you don't have an address, go get one, should be on the neighborhood nurture. Or if you don't use command, I bet you whatever CRM you use does the same thing, right? That monthly update of the value of their home. Oh, well, what if they're renting their home? I think they should still get it. They should know how much that thing is worth that they're paying the mortgage on that they don't own. So like for me, it's an easy universal. Like here is the value of the home that you live in. For most people, it's the biggest investment that they have, and it's a great conversation starter. Even if they don't like the number that you send them, that is a reason that they would reach out to you, right? And so it's one of those things where I think that is a non-negotiable, and it's so easy because it's like set it and forget it, and all you have to look for is, ooh, this person opened it. I should probably reach out. That's one. I believe that you should send something out every month that is a market update of some sort. And I want to be clear that I believe the smartest way you could do that is to create a 60 to a 1 to 2 minute video in your words, in your voice, sounding like a human and not a statistician. Hey, here's what's happening in the local market. Like make it easy, make it palatable. And the reason I challenge you to do it in video form is that it's 2025 and I'm just like you. I don't like how I sound on video, but I use it all the time because I know that the average consumer is more likely to watch a quick video than to read a quick email. So I think it's a way to meet people where they are, and then you get kind of FaceTime with them, which is really, really valuable. So I would say those two are like the most non-negotiable. And I think if you did that, now you've already got 24 emails for the year. Well, you know you're going to have a few events throughout the year. And if you never have, it's time to get into it. And we'll talk about that, right? But you have a few events. Now they're hearing from you that way. Every once in a while, you have an amazing investment. You blast that out to your people, right? Like, and all of a sudden now you're communicating at a super high level. But most of it is like you said it once and it's done. So those are some things that I would do. I would say to answer your question in regard to bold, but not necessarily directly the way you asked it, anything you can do to clean up your database before bold would be really, really smart. And now when I say clean up, I don't mean get rid of people, because don't even get me started on that. The people that delete people in their database because they're afraid to talk to them, and then they're going to go pay Zillow $1 bazillion for new strangers to talk to, like, stop it. Okay. What I mean is gathering extra contact information, tagging people properly, stuff like that. Anytime you could spend in your database to make sure that it has more data in it so that you can more effectively communicate with it, I think would be super, super helpful launching into bold. What other questions can I answer and or aha type things?
Hudson, I have a question.
Yeah, go for it.
My name is Mike, by the way. I'm out of the Langhorne office. I'm a newer agent, so I'm still like working with or trying to do like what works best, what doesn't work. How do you know when you're doing something and it's either you might either not be doing it correctly or it's just like an ineffective tactic, meaning like something with lead generation or how you're talking to people? Like, how do you kind of know when you're hitting one of those two walls?
That is such a great question. Okay. Because here's the thing, there is no lead generation method that doesn't work. That's a story we tell ourselves when we either haven't put the time in, but don't want to put any more time in, or we haven't measured to see if we're doing something right. So there is nothing that doesn't work, Mike. And so what you want to do is do something long enough to get great at it and have somebody in your world, whether it is a friend in the business, a coach, a mentor, a team leader, like share with them what you're doing, especially if it's verbal. Practice with somebody, let them give you feedback. I'll never forget I had a bold student that called me like halfway through the course, and she was like white hot pissed when I picked up the phone. And she was like, I've been doing everything you've told me to do, and it's not working. And she kind of went off, and I was like, hey, I get it. I'd be frustrated too. Let's talk about it though. Like you're talking to 100 people a week. Sweet. Who are you talking to? I'm talking to my sphere, like you said. Okay, great. I'm so glad. What are you saying to them? And then she kind of reads me what she's saying. I'm like, it sounds great. How are you saying it? What do you mean? I'm like, pretend I'm in your sphere. And when I tell you this lovely, lovely human was saying to me, I'm so excited to share with you that I've gotten into real estate. And that's exactly how she sounded. And I
Right.
stopped her. I was like, friend, friend, friend. Like, here's how this might want to sound. Oh, okay, cool. By next class, she was like, I picked up 3 leads. Like, it's never a question of whether it will work. It's, have I done it long enough and am I doing it right? And you'll only figure that out by allowing other people inside and asking for feedback.
Okay, wow.
Um,
All right, cool.
so I see the question, what program do you use to embed video into an email? If you want to embed it, we use MailChimp. There's a million other ones. I'm not going to tell you that's the best one. That's just what we use. If you don't want to pay for something extra, you can put videos in command. They're just going to go in as a link, but don't think that your people are above clicking a link. Like, it's not the end of the world. There's the word. Um, so one thing that I put into the chat is I put in the registration links for free first step to bold and for full bold. I put in my contact information for anybody who might have questions. And in the last couple of minutes, I just want to share a challenge with you. If you have no idea what bold is at this point, I'm happy to have a conversation with you after. Text me or email me. I will get back to you, or I'll answer right away. Like I'm an A-type communicator. Or talk to your leadership. Okay. If you do know what bold is, and if you're not registered for either one, here's my question to you. And I mean it with so much respect, and I mean it to be helpful, not hurtful. What is one word that you would use to describe your business right now, with the caveat that you have to be honest? You don't have to say it out loud. What is one word that you would use to describe your real estate business right now? And I want you to ask yourself something. Is that word something that you're choosing, or is it something that you're tolerating? Friends, if you are tolerating less than you desire or deserve, get your butt to bold. I don't have a nicer way to say it, and I won't keep you late, so I'm being very direct. Here's what I can promise you. I'm not perfect. I don't know everything. I am 10 out of 10 wildly passionate about what I do. My whole purpose in life is to help other people break through ceilings and find strengths that lie within them that they never knew were there. And this is my promise to you. If you choose to be at Bold and you choose to go all in and you come and you're there and you pay attention and you do the work and we get to step 6 and you're like, this was BS and this did nothing for me, come tell me to my face. I won't even get defensive and I will write you a check on the spot for $800 so you'll make $1 on it. Okay. Like, if your life is not something that you're level 10 in love with, if your business is not something that you're level 10 in love with, it's time for a pattern interrupt and it's time for you to get yourself into an environment that will invoke change. Okay. So if you're on the fence on Bold, either sign up for step 1 because it's freaking free, or reach out to me and I can answer maybe some of the questions that you have. And I will not be pushy. I will be helpful so you can make an educated decision. And if you know you need to be there, then sign up for the whole thing. And if you're already registered, here's my challenge to you. Who do you know, whether they're in your market center or at another brokerage, who you know would benefit from being in the Bold environment and isn't registered? Go have a conversation with them. Because here's what I know your market is still really healthy and you're starting to feel the change. I have the beautiful benefit of living in Florida, and there's so many fun things about that. And one of them is we are one of the few states that usually shifts well before the rest of the country. If you think it's not going to get more challenging, I love you and you're crazy. So it's time for us to make sure that we are prepared for the skills-based market that we're moving into so that we don't have to blame the market for anything and we can succeed in spite of whatever the market is. Adam, I know you're probably the leader that I have on. Is there anything else you want me to throw out before I jump off? Because we're now a minute over, so now I'm a liar. Are we good?
We're good. Thank you, Hudson.
I'm grateful for you guys. If you know you need to register, do it today, not tomorrow, because real estate agents are epic level procrastinators. I am one of them. So save those links, reach out to me with any questions. Go have a beautiful day, and I will see you at Bold. Take care, guys.
Thanks, Hudson.
Thanks, guys.